years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Castillo, you talked about the experience of your company in 15 years. How many common employees do you have? In other words, how many employees at your firm have been there 15 years?
No one has been there 15 years.
10 years?
Of the employees.
10 years?
None of them have been there 10 years.
5 years?
I don't believe anyone. Well,
1 year?
1 year. All of them have been there 1 year or less.
So what's your, no, 1 second.
In January of last year.
You made an assertion of prior experience. The fact is the company you bought and the employees of your current company have nothing in common. So I ran a company, I built a company over 20 years. Where is that legacy experience that you're claiming your company had? Name an employee that when you bought the company that had never done more than $250,000 in contracting. Name the employee that's part of that experience that is with you here today.
Of what timeline, sir?
Well, you claim 15 years. You bought the company a year and a half ago. How many employees came when you bought the company?
2 employees and the owner at the time.
And where are they today?
The owner left in September of last year, and one of the 2 employees, we bought a small company with 2 employees. One of them is still there.
Okay, well, I want the public to understand. You're claiming this experience and legacy, and now you're claiming that in reality, 3 employees gross, 1 with the employer, only 1 of which is with you today. So, quite frankly, you swore an oath to tell the truth and the whole truth. That's shading the truth pretty close to claim 15 years of experience with essentially no employees for all practical purposes. Ms. Tucker, our committee, back when we sent the letter to you or to the acting Treasury Secretary, and you got involved in it back in February and March, we asked you about this, and at that time you said there was no there. Do you stand by that today in the case of this investigation?
No, sir, I don't.
Turn your mic on, please.
No, sir, let me just be clear. The information that we've seen about the personal relationship with Mr. Roseman and Mr. Castillo is inappropriate. Mr. Roseman should have recused himself immediately from any involvement whatsoever in any IRS interactions with Strongcastle. Let me be clear also, and I think as your staff members interviewed extensively IRS procurement officials, that they all stated on the record that they were unaware of any relationship with Mr. Roseman.
No, I understand, and you know, Ms. Tucker, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you don't know what our people said. Well, your lawyers were in those interviews, and then start saying what your people said in our interviews. So let me use my time more briefly. Just this past Monday, you indicated you were not going to cancel the $266 million contract to Strongcastle. My understanding a few minutes ago is you now are going to cancel that or put it on hold. It is not so important as to not be reworked. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, what I told members of your staff on Monday was that we were exploring options. Okay.
Well, now let's get to this part about the money. When you provide a contract, when the Federal Government, and your other witnesses I hopefully help, when you provide a contract to a disabled veteran like Mr. Castillo and in a hub zone, the IRS, as I understand it, took full credit for this hundreds of millions of dollars as though they went to that company. Isn't that true? You didn't take credit for 1% of it going to a disabled veteran in a small business in a hub zone. You took credit for $500 million. Isn't that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Internal Revenue Service followed the—
Ma'am, you're not a witness that I'm terribly thrilled at today because you did ignore this until we pressed and pressed and pressed. The fact is, and I'll go to either of other 2 witnesses, Mr. Flora and Mr. Chodos, when the IRS awards $500 million, they don't do it on the net that might go, if you will, the skimmed off the top profit for absolutely no participation in the actual delivery of services. They take the gross amount, don't they? This is scored as hundreds of millions of dollars going to a hub zone. Isn't that correct?
Mr. Chairman, the ultimate credit for the contract is for the dollars incurred, and the dollars incurred are gross. So,
okay, so for the American people here today, one of the frauds on the American people and for us on the dais is we get these report cards talking about hundreds of millions and billions of dollars going to our disabled veterans, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars going into these blighted zones that we're trying to encourage. I call them enterprise zones. Hub zone happens to be one form of it. We're scoring $500 million, and then somebody comes here, Ms. Stucker, I'm picking on you for a reason, and tries to say, well, it's minuscule. Our indication is that this contract cost more than it would have cost if it had been competitively bid to the principals, and clearly every cent that Mr. Castillo got, from what we can tell, without having a true principal operation, and the witnesses did make it pretty clear, they don't go there. The people who had real money don't go there. A few college students show up and surf the Internet looking for potential new contracts. That, in fact, was scored as hundreds of millions of dollars to help people in blighted areas and to help a disabled veteran who, it turns out, played college ball for years and didn't limp or have a problem until he got ready to apply for this special status. I have a scoring problem here today, and I think my ranking member and everyone on the dais, and Mr. Flora, you didn't get a chance, and I'm going to go to the ranking member now, but bear in mind, it's not about Mr. Castillo per se. He may not have broken a single rule. That's for others to determine under the law. But we were shocked to discover that we're scoring as though we're doing a lot of good for disabled veterans, not people who turn their ankle and have no problem for 27 years until it's time to conveniently become a disabled veteran. And we were scoring impact to blighted communities when, in fact, that score is at best fraudulent. We're scoring apparently $1 million, but writing it in as 10 times or 100 times that. So that's part of what this hearing's here today. That's what the ranking member and I, why we're teammates in this. This is an example of an agency that conveniently had a large contract, may or may not have gotten the best value for the American taxpayer, but certainly for the two gentlemen to your left, or your right, Ms. Tucker, they're in a position where, complying with the law, they're in fact not seeing you deliver the value appropriately to the American people for these set-aside type events. Mr. Cummings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Tucker, I'm going to just pick up where the Chairman left off. Help me with this. You apparently had not made a decision on an IBM contract on Monday. Is that right?
That's correct. We were exploring options. We were troubled, but we had not immediately canceled the contract because the IBM software is critical to our mainframe operation.
I understand. So what happened, what information came to you between Monday and this morning that caused you to say what you said, and when was that decision made to sever the relationships? If I'm misstating you, tell me. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, so yesterday afternoon, when we received the report from the committee and the procurement executive team and I met, and based on the email exchanges that we're seeing in the report that we had not been made privy to, and candidly based on the fact that Mr. Roseman was repeatedly asked by his superiors if he had a personal relationship with Mr. Castillo and Strongcastle, and he denied it. And I believe the detail that we saw excerpted in the report has raised considerable concern that we are in the process of separating our relationship with Strongcastle.
Would the gentleman yield for a second? I'll give you additional time. Sure. Ms. Tucker, I only want to make sure that the ranking member understands the emails you're so horrified about, you gave us. That was part of the discovery. Your organization reads them before they deliver them to us. Thank you, Mr.
No, sir, that's incorrect. That's not the email that I'm referring to. We did provide emails from the Internal Revenue Service system.
So the emails that you provided did not lead you